States Cal Ripken Major 70 division. It says the Cal Ripken Major 70 will play the official playing roles. Excuse me, right underneath it. Cal Ripken Major 70 division does use Babe Ruth Rule 6.09 drop third strike. So the 10Us don't, just the Majors division does.
So 9U and 8U don't use drop third strike?
Or 10U.
Or 10U. Wow. Okay.
So it's just the 11 and 12 50-70 and the 12 60 that use it.
All righty.
So Jason wanted clarification, so I was looking through it, and because the original rule is on page 61, but you got to revert back to page 21.
Perfect.
And the other good news is Mesa Cal Ripken is starting up this fall. And they've already registered. And there's another possible league in the Central Phoenix area that I'm going to be talking to after Memorial Day, and we'll see if they come on board. They want to make a change. And then we have Yuma, which is trying to make things happen. They're starting off slow, but they'll get things going. A couple more minutes here. We said 7. It's 6:59. Give it another minute, and then we'll start in on this. It's 7:01. I'll start. All right, so we'll start with the youngest division, the 8U machine pitch. We're just doing a state tournament. Scottsdale is hosting it. The rules will be pretty much the same as last year, and the pitching will be from 46 feet at 43 miles per hour. That'll be the part that they'll set up as. And then the 6 pitches per batter. And then that's it. They either get on base or they're done. They move on to the next batter. I will have Jason send out some rules that we've used in the past. We'll make sure that they're modified. When it comes to the runners, if a ball is hit, it's going to be umpire discretion. So if a ball is being thrown into the infield, as soon as it's maintained by the infielder, At that point, the umpire can decide where that runner is, whether they go back or whether they can advance to the next base. So it'll be strictly umpire discretion. So coaches just deal with it. Out there having fun teaching baseball, and we'll just move on that way. And we'll make sure that everybody has the rules that we've used in the past. I just want to make sure that we talk about the pitching to make sure it's correct. There, for the 8U kid pitch, Scottsdale Cal Ripken is moving on to the regionals. And I'll do one other thing. In the 8U machine pitch, even though we're having a state tournament, there is a invitational. If you want to take your team, no matter whether you win, lose, or draw, you can go back and play. I don't know if they're doing it in Florida or if they're doing it in New Jersey. But the team has to pay, for airfare. You got to pay for a tournament fee, meals, hotel, all that other good stuff. So it is available if a team wants to go on and travel and just participate. They can do that. All you have to do is participate in a state to make that happen. The 8U kid pitch, Scottsdale is the state champs, and they will be moving on to the regionals. However, they want to get some games in, so they are going to participate in our state tournament in the 9U, because we have 3 teams in there now. So the 8U will be the 4th team. Should the 8Us from Scottsdale make it to the championship game and win, the second place 9U team will be deemed the state champion and move on to the regionals. So either way, the 8Us are going to their regional from Scottsdale, and the 9U will be determined upon 3 teams from Scottsdale, one of them being an 8U team, and 1 team from Yuma. And then the 10, and that tournament, I sent off the schedule. I received it from Yuma and forwarded that over to Jason, so he'll get it to all the coaches there. We'll be playing next Friday at 6 and 8 p.m. at Yuma Catholic. And then the games on Saturday, and then also games on Sunday. So, like I said, the league president from Scottsdale has a schedule. There is a typo that's on there for the field dimensions. It says for Friday, it says 4660. For Saturday and Sunday, it says 4665. That's 4660 for both Saturday and Sunday. So it's just a typo. So the field dimensions aren't changing for you. We'll make that happen. The 10Us are going to be in Scottsdale, and then we have the 11s 50-70 and the 12s 50-70 will be held in Casa Grande. Those will be the state tournaments, and we'll get you all the schedules. Jenny's put her schedules up. I have to get the schedules from Jason for the 10s and the 8U machine pitch. The only one off this year is the 12U state champion. That regional is in Honolulu, Hawaii. So the cost for that team is probably going to be around $30,000 to $35,000. So anybody that has extra money and wants to throw it their way, no matter whether it's Casa Grande or Scottsdale that's moving on, it's a big tournament. And of course, all the other tournaments as well too. If you guys know any sponsors that want to help out teams, by all means, get with the local league presidents and pass on some sponsorship and help the kids move along. So with that being said, Are there any questions? The rules for the 11s and 12s are they have leadoffs and steals, they have balks, they have drop third strikes. For the 10, 9s, 8s, for the kid pitch, they all run the same rules. So I'm open for any questions of what the rules are. You guys have been playing local league rules. They're number one in all state tournaments. There is no time limit. So if you've been used to playing time limits, there's no time limit. If we run out of, lights go out or, weather, the game is suspended and then picks up when we can make it available again with whoever was pitching, whoever was on first. You can actually make changes during it, but the base runners are in there. You can make a change before on a suspended game to have a different pitcher come in, but it's announced at the game when that happens. Does everybody understand the pitching rules for the kid pitch on how many pitches you can pitch based upon the age bracket and stuff? Is everybody familiar with them?
Yeah.
Not really, to be honest. I mean,
Okay, what age bracket are you in? If you have the rule book, it's on page 26. The person who said they're not familiar with the pitching counts. What age bracket are you in?
9U.
9U? Okay. So they'll make it easy for the 8s, 9s, and 10s.
Yeah.
The daily maximum pitches. Now this is daily. So if you're playing 2 games, that's daily. The maximum pitch is 75 pitches, for a day. However, when you break that down, if a pitcher pitches between 1 and 40 pitches, there's no day's rest needed. So if you're doing a double header, as long as you're 40 and under and you pitched in both games, you can pitch the next day. However, if you pitch 41 to 65 pitches, you have to take a day's rest. And then if you pitch 66 pitches or more, up to 75, and you can finish out the batter that you're on. So if you're at your 75th pitch and you're pitching to a batter, you can finish that batter. But you have to take 2 days rest. Not games, it's days. So with your pitching, get it in tune that you can still pitch people, because, for example, our state tournaments will have some double headers. So you got like a Friday, a Saturday, and then you got Sunday. So if you want to pitch somebody, all 3 days, they have to pitch 40 pitches or less, either in 1 game or 2 games. It's not, I pitched 40 in the first game and I get another 40, because you're up to 80 pitches in the day. You've already exceeded and you have to be off for 2 days. So it's just understanding to keep your pitching, your rotation in line to make that happen. For 11 and 12-year-olds, the maximum pitch count is 85 pitches in a day. And again, it's the same count. 1 to 40 is 0 days rest. 41 to 65 is 1 to 40 is 0 days rest. 41 to 65 is 1 day's rest. And 66 or and above is you need to take 2 days rest.
Dan, with that was me.
What's that?
Sorry, this is Efren from Scottsdale. I asked that question. I'm assuming
You're breaking up on me.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. Yeah.
Scorekeeper, and then just both team keep
Yeah, you're still breaking up on that, but the best way to do it is at the end of every inning, find out, go by jersey number. Just say, I have number 7 with, 12 pitches. What do you have? And the official scorekeeper is the one that's going to tell you. And we don't want anybody to forfeit a game, because pitching is where you can forfeit. That's one of the rules where if somebody's supposed to not be pitching and they're pitching, you just, it's a forfeited game. We try not to let that happen. So both teams get with the scorekeeper, not the umpire. It's not the umpire's job to, even though they may be keeping pitch counts, get with the scorekeeper at the end of every inning, figure out what the jersey number of the person pitching and how many pitches they've thrown. And then when it changes, do the same thing. You start over. This way, if you keep it 40 pitches or less in a day, that means if you have a double header, and they pitched 32 the first game, they could still pitch 8 without taking 1 day's rest. So that may be a batter or 2, depending how good they're throwing. So, but the official scorekeeper, whoever's there, both teams would go to them. At the end of every inning, you could get with the scorekeeper, and then just say, okay, this person's getting close. Could you let me know when they're at 39 or something? And that's doable, because we're all in this for the kids. So we don't want to, just because somebody's throwing good, we don't want to take away from your coaching ability, but just stay on top of it with the pitching. Because like I said, pitching is one of the avenues in which you can forfeit. Now, the other thing when it comes time for pitching is, let's say you have a pitcher that, I'm going to just throw some numbers out, is that 15 pitches and is having a bad time with a batter. You can swap them out with another pitcher. They have to go at least one batter before they can come back in the game, as long as they're still active as a pitcher. So if they had 15 pitches, somebody came in, pitched to one batter to finish that batter off. It has to be one batter, then they can come back in, and then they're starting at 15 pitches. A legal pitcher can come in and go. I personally don't recommend it, as far as, their arm, getting hot and cold, putting them out in the outfield or another position and then bringing them back in. But the rules do allow it. So as a coach, make sure you have your pitching strategy in place. When it comes time for the state, a lot of the teams are very close in competitiveness, but when you get to a regional, I remember the first time, Kevin Young was one of the coaches at Scottsdale, and he went up to Central California, and the first base coach for Kevin's team is talking to the coach in the dugout, and they go, "Hey, how many games you been playing?" And Paul from Scottsdale goes, "Oh, this is like our 10th." And they go, "How many you've been playing?" And "Oh, this is our 85th." So you'll run into that, where you got a lot of teams that are have been playing together a lot longer than your team may have. It doesn't matter. We can still win. We've taken 3 World Series in the 14U division. We finished second in the 12U division in the World Series. I get a phone call from the Louisville coach every year to rub it in. But we lost to them 7-4 in the finals of the World Series. So don't let that bother you that they do that. It's, you got a good team and a good coach. Just stay together and make it happen. When it comes time for issues with the umpire, I would like every team to have one person who's not a scorekeeper and not, not that game scorekeeper and not a coach or a manager to be on the protest committee. So you can have one parent, grandparent, whatever. They're your protest committee. So if there's a situation like let's say there was interference that wasn't called, well, that's a rule. So you go out there and you say, you go to the home plate umpire, ask for time, and then talk to them. Only the team managers go talk to the umpires, not the coaches. If the manager wants to go out and call time and say, "Hey, look, I want my coach to talk to you," manager go back to the dugout. You don't want to tag team the umpires. You want to, have the person, but be polite about it and say, "I'd like to have my coach talk to you," and I'll go back to the dugout. But if you can't get the umpire to change, their mind, then you got to protest. You could protest it based upon a rule, not balls and strikes, not if the person was safe or out, but on a rule, a baseball rule. So, for example, interference. You say, I want to protest based upon the interference rule. Then what ends up happening is time is called, the umpires are taken out of the equation, and then the protest committees from each team go out there along with the tournament director. It could be me, it could be Jenny, it could be Jason, somebody who's not coaching. It could be somebody like if Scottsdale is hosting it and Casa Grande's hosting it. As long as they're not coaching, then it would be somebody else that may be running the tournament. And the three of them, the person that is protesting it will tell their protest committee what they're protesting. The three people will evaluate the rule and then come up with a judgment. And it could go 3-0, 0-3, 1-2, 2-1. But it ends up being that's when an umpire's rule can be overturned. It has to happen before the next pitch. If the next pitch comes in, it's history and you move on. You can be upset at yourself for not calling time and calling that protest. So we don't get a lot of them. The umpires do a great job. They're human, but it's we're in it for the kids, but also this is the time when everything gets competitive. So sportsmanship is vital. I'd rather have a team lose and have great sportsmanship than win and be a bunch of total jerks and then move on to the regional. And then they make Arizona look bad. And believe me, I get phone calls from the day they get there till, the game's done. And one time I only had where a team was really messed up. And it made us look bad. So, the whole thing is sportsmanship and going out there and doing the best you can. So everybody understand the protest committee, how to set it up? It could be somebody different every game, but just have somebody that has some knowledge and then, have your team give them a rule book. You can purchase the PDF versions of the rule book on Babe Ruth website, baberuthleague.org. So you can have it on your phone. I think it's like $8 or something. So any other questions?
I have a question going back to pitch count. And this is Juan Casagrande 12U. So are there any rules on catchers' eligibility to pitch? Like innings caught and the ability to pitch? No? Okay.
It just goes by pitch count. Now you as a coach know that a catcher is throwing a bunch, but if the kid has a strong enough arm, your kids, I don't. But if the guy goes out to the mound and he's ready to pitch and his arm is just hanging, that's that's a sign that maybe he shouldn't be out there. So, but we trust you guys as volunteers, and I want to thank you, for all the volunteer stuff that you do. But there's nothing to do with catchers or first basemen or any other thing. And there's nothing that says a pitcher can't pitch, and go catch. But again, you as a coach, you're looking out, you got your growth plate and all that other stuff to worry about. Your kids, and you don't want to mess them up. So when they're 13, 14, or 15, that they can't throw.
Okay, and then
Dan.
one more question. I'm
Sure.
sorry.
Go ahead.
Can they pitch in 3 consecutive days, or is there a limit on number of days they can pitch in, assuming they stay under the 40 pitch count?
As long as they stay under the 40 pitch count, they can pitch every day.
Thank you.
Any other
All
questions?
right, couple questions. So
Yeah.
Again, 10 hitting roster max, right?
You mean number of players?
On the hitting roster, correct.
Oh, on a hitting roster, yes, 10. You have
However he wants.
you have what's referred to as an EP, which is an extra player. So when the game starts, you have your fielders out there, and then you have an extra player. The 1 through 10, if you start a game with 9, you must finish with 9. If you can't have 9 and then say, oh, little Johnny or little Susie just showed up, so we're going to throw them in. Once the game starts, if you start with 9, you must finish with 9. If you start with 10, you must finish with 10. So if somebody gets hurt, it's not an out every time that person comes up, because you don't have anybody to hit due to an injury.
Right.
At that time, it's a forfeit. So you can forfeit with 9 players if you started with 10 and you don't have 10 to finish the game.
There's an extra hitter. Those 10 can float around however we want.
Correct.
They sub in for whoever I want. The guys that come out, as long as it's in the same hitting position, but once those subs come out,
once the starters come back in, the sub is done. You don't sub for a position, even though you may be subbing for a position. When you're sending a sub in, you're sending them into the portion of the lineup. Let's say I'm batting third, and then and I'm the starter. You come in for me. I go sit on the bench. You could go play any position, including pitcher if you're eligible. But the minute that I come back in the game, I bat in the third position, and then you're expired as a sub. So you don't go, oh, I'm swapping the shortstop. You swap batting lineups. So the lineup that you start in, 1 through 10, that's the lineup that the starter remains in. And when the sub comes in, and let's say you come in for me in the third position, I can't come in for somebody else in the 5th position. I have to take the 3rd position, and then the sub who came in for me that was batting there is then expired as a sub. The only time a sub can re-enter the game is when all the subs have been expired and somebody gets hurt. The opposing manager gets to pick from the subs who can come back in the game.
Sounds good, Dan. And my last question is, please don't tell the coaches we have to wear baseball pants.
You have to wear baseball pants. Yes, when you get to regionals, you must wear full attire. So even though I won't stop you from playing, I will reprimand you for not having baseball attire on. We don't, if you want to wear shorts, the rest of the team better be wearing shorts. but
Got it.
we dress up, to show our camaraderie for our team and for the kids, and that we're part of an organization and part of a team.
Sounds
So
good.
that's the way to go. And then for those that move on to regionals, usually when you get into the Babe Ruth division, when people show up, it's a serious situation sometimes. Like we have people from Westchester and Southern California. They show up, everybody's in a suit and tie. The other teams are all wearing, their uniforms pulled out, their uniform tops. They're wearing shorts, barefoot, whatever. Westchester is there with suit and ties on. They come up, they show a good presence. So you're going to see, if you make it to the regional, I hope during your career of coaching and being a volunteer that you're able to go experience a regional and then even a World Series, because you see different levels of commitment and the camaraderie of the teams. Some of the coaches, it's almost like they're in the military. The coach doesn't even have to say anything. They're doing their hand signals and everybody's watching them. A little funny story of my team was playing Kurt Schilling's team, and Kurt's standing outside the dugout and he's using his face as the field, first base, center field, pitcher, catcher. So he's pointing and then he's telling him where to go, except when he gets to his son. Then all of a sudden he was playing second base and, he's pointing and he's doing stuff. And all of a sudden you hear, Garrett. So the coach's son was the only one not paying attention. But it's just a little bit of comic relief because in all sincerity, it's how you're coaching your kids and what you want to give away to the other team. The more you talk, everybody's listening. So a lot of times everybody's used to just doing signals, so they don't have to talk to their kids. And it keeps the kids focused when they're out there in the field before the pitch. They're looking at the coach to see where they want to be positioned and stuff. So like I said, everybody has their own environment. It doesn't make you any better or mean that your team is going to win. It's just you're going to see a lot of different ways to coach people out there. And I hope everybody learns something as they go along. But these kids wouldn't be doing anything if it wasn't for you guys being volunteers. So I appreciate it. And Babe Ruth League appreciates it as well.
Hey, Dan, just to
Yep.
make sure I'm crystal clear on this, because I think for some of us, our local rules are slightly different. But for even for machine pitch, we are following what's in the Babe Ruth manual.
For the machine pitch, this is going back. I think we first ran the machine pitch back in 2006 is when we started. We were actually the first league in the nation to actually run a machine pitch environment. So what we did was we got together at a state meeting, and the league presidents have come up with a set of rules for machine pitch, and they've modified them over the course of 22 years or so here. And we have the rules that we have now. Even between last year and this year, there was some discrepancies on how Casa Grande and how Scottsdale set up their pitching. So Scottsdale is conforming to what Casa Grande is doing, and in the pitching. So that's a rule change. So before I send out the machine pitch rules, I want to make sure that that's addressed in there, and then I'll make sure that you get it. But for the machine pitch, we're not using this book. We're using the set of rules that the league presidents have come out. Anything that's a kid pitch in Cal Ripken or Babe Ruth utilizes the rule book.
Okay. And so you're sending those rules out to the league presidents and they'll disseminate it out?
Correct. To make sure that everybody has it.
Wonderful.
Yeah, but Jason wanted me to make everybody aware that it was going to be set to 43 miles an hour from 46 feet, because I think prior Scottsdale had it, I think, at 40 or 42 feet, and then they were set at, I think, 38 miles an hour. So they brought it back to the way Casa Grande does. This way, there's no discrepancies on, oh, we do it this way and we do it this way, because essentially we try to mix all the local league rules together, at least for the machine pitch, because that's where, you bat the lineup, you get, 6 pitches, after, I think it's 6 runs, you switch, or 3 outs, whichever comes first. And you just try to keep the game moving and have the kids have a lot of fun. It's a fun environment to be at. If nobody's ever been to a machine pitch tournament, it gets pretty competitive. So, and it's fun to watch. It's kind of an advanced T-ball thing, and the only difference is they're not like swarming to the ball. They're kind of staying in their lane, but they're playing good ball. They're making good throws. They're hitting the ball, and they're catching the ball. And we want to make it safe around the machine as well, so that they're not running into the machine and getting hurt. And then if everybody wants to take my phone number down, I'm more than happy to answer any questions after the fact. You could call me, you could text me. I'll give you my email as well. But my phone number is 480-217-5243. I'm available to take calls usually up till about 10 o'clock at night, during, work days. And then, and sometimes I'm up later. Feel free to call anytime. If I'm up, I'll answer. I turn the ringer off on my phone after a certain time, and then, but I still check it. So if I'm up, and you want to call back, just let me know that you'll be up for another period of time, and if I do get it, I'll give it back. But again, 480-217-5243. And then my email is daniel.neary, it's N like Nancy, ERI, at azbaberuth.org. And you can put down your questions, or text your questions, or call with your questions. And we just want to try to make your life as easy as possible. And then, and like I said, it gets competitive. So as long as you have an understanding of the rules, and I don't want to hear anything that's going on between umpires. You can argue a rule, and or whatever, but you got to remember, you have all these kids watching you arguing over something that may be so ridiculous, and sometimes it may have some merit, but you can talk it out, and if you're not getting anywhere, drop it, unless you're going to protest a rule. If it's safe or out and you think he was safe and they called out, or vice versa, you can go out and talk to the umpire and stuff, but no pushing, shoving, swearing. You're gone. And should your team win, I'm probably not going to let you move on to the regionals. So that's probably the one. I'll work with people, but I don't want disrespect. And we all have bad days. So I've had bad days, but there's no need to treat people like that, especially when you're in it for the kids. So that's probably the one thing that people won't like me for. I started the rule in Scottsdale way back when, that if you got thrown out of the game by an umpire, you had a 2-game suspension. And even the umpires go, that was pretty harsh, but it stopped a lot of the arguing. So.
Hey, Dan.
Yes.
This is Omer Burdett. I'm the UIC for Casa Grande,
Yep.
for the umpiring.
How you doing, Omer?
So I'm doing good, Dan. How are you doing?
Good.
I just wonder iterate to the coaches that when you call time and you want to come out and talk about, even if it's a judgment call, if you want to come out and talk about it, that should be appropriate for you to do. Come out appropriately. It's a judgment call, right? So you're going to find out, what did the umpire see? So it isn't what you saw. You need to come out and ask the umpire, what did you see or what did you process? Because any coach that comes and talks to me, I'm going to tell you that I had a tag on the rib cage on a dive back into first base. You're not going to get that out. If I get a tag in the elbow area or the forearm area, wow, now we got a close play. Now you might get an out. So there's, how does it process, right? For an umpire that has experience, now you're going to get umpires that don't, but ones that do should be able to tell you why I called him safe or why I called him out. Now, again, that's a judgment call. So once that umpire tells you why he called him safe or called him out, it's time to turn and go back to the dugout. Right? He gave you a legitimate answer of what he processed or what he saw, however you want to ask that question. To come out and scream about what you saw from a different angle probably isn't going to get you anywhere, right? So it's about how you approach most umpires, and you will run into umpires that don't want to hear you at all. And I don't know what to tell you about that. Just good luck with that, okay? But legitimate umpires should be able to de-escalate the situation, because I explained why I made the call that I made. Whether you agree with it or not, that's neither here nor there. But I gave you an explanation, and it should be a reasonable explanation, right? So from an umpire standpoint, that's what I encourage coaches to come talk to me. And I hope other umpires, do the same type thing. But it's not going to be a debacle or a travesty of the game, because that's when you'll go to the parking lot, right? Sometimes you get it when you were talking about obstruction, you're talking about interference. Even though those are rule type things, there's still some judgment in those. A runner out of the base path, right? So a step and a reach is what most umpires will give a kid getting out of the base path, is a step and a reach. If I field the ball, I can step and I can reach. If I can't tag you, you're out. You're out of the base path, right? So I got the runner out of the base path. He's out. On a fielder trying to make a play on a batted ball, it is the runner's responsibility to give him the right to make the play. So there is no base path. The runner has to get out of the base path to allow this fielder to make a play on a batted ball. So there comes, sometimes that gets dicey, because at the higher level, you have a ball hit to the shortstop, the runner on second base, he'll hesitate until the ball is almost hitting him, and he'll let it go by, and then he'll go, right? So it's to distract the shortstop. If the shortstop would get up into the base path to where his hesitation would cause him some type of hindering, altering his ability to make a play, then I have a judgment call on that. If the runner just runs into the fielder trying to make a play, that's a rule interpretation. It's time. You have every right to protest or argue that. But there's times where it gets really dicey in what the umpire may see as a rule or a judgment call. So,
Omar, real quick. So is this from an umpire interpretation?
I'm sorry?
You're an umpire?
Yes.
Okay, cool. I mean, yeah, I agree. I asked, hey, can you go talk to the other umpire? And it is what it is. You shouldn't.
Right. So on so as far as protocol coming out to talk to an umpire. So whatever umpire's call it is. So let's say it's a banger at first base, right? Or maybe it's just a banger. You just want to come out and talk to the guy, right? And I'm not going to suggest you come out and talk to him on a banger, but if you need to, you can come out. It'll be very quick. That's a very quick conversation, right? There was no pulled foot or whatever. So let's say a play at first base where there's a question of whether the first baseman pulled his foot. Now, as a plate umpire, I have responsibility to be able to help my partner if the ball's on the ground, he didn't catch it, or if he pulled his foot. Then you would go out and ask the base umpire, I'm asking you, I believe his foot pulled off the base. Will you get help? Will you go ask for help? I'll do that every time. If you come out and tell me that you believe his foot, unless I'm 100% sure that I got it right, then I'm going to tell you, Coach, I don't need to go because it's my call. I own the call. It's my call. And I truly believe that when I lay down tonight at bed, this will not keep me awake. So, no, I'm not going to go get help. But if there's doubt in my mind, and this is what you do, you come out and find out if there's doubt in my mind. Do I have doubt or do I not have doubt? Today, I don't have doubt, Coach. I'm not going to ask for help. End the conversation. Turn and go back to the dugout. If you come out and I'm like, yeah, okay, you know what? I'm going to go ask. And I will go ask. If the umpire says, no, I don't have him pulling the foot, I will turn around. I will give the out call. And you go back to the dugout as a coach, right? There's no more conversation. Once I go ask for help, there's no more conversation after that.
100%. All good.
That's good, right?
Yep.
Okay. I'll be in Casa Grande for anybody down there. I'll be there all weekend for anybody has questions or anything like that from an umpiring standpoint. Dan, I'd like to get with you.
Yep.
Over the, sometime during the weekend, to talk about a few things.
Sure.
Not about tonight, but about other things.
Yep.
How do you get that Hawaii regional? That's what I want to talk to you about. So anyway, and again, if anybody wants to take my phone number down from Scottsdale or Casa Grande or Yuma or wherever, it's 623-428-3118. And I've been umpiring a long time, and I think I've done a pretty decent job, and I'm pretty reasonable, and I like the way that coaches coach, and I just appreciate the game and appreciate what I do, and if I could be any help to anybody, would be glad to do that. So again, let's have a great state tournament and everybody do well.
Yep.
Thank you. Guys.
So, and then the other thing on the rules, from whether it's 8U kid pitch, 9U kid pitch, 10s, 11s, and 12s, infield fly rules are all part of the game. So that's regular baseball rules on the infield fly rule. So because that question came up prior to our meeting, so I just wanted to make sure that everybody was aware that in all the Cal Ripken tournaments, infield fly rule does come into effect. The only thing that doesn't is that drop third strike for 10 and under, 9 and under, and 8 and under. But 11s and 12s, the drop third strike is definitely in play. Also in the 11s and 12s, that's where you have your leadoff steals box. But in the 10s, 9s, and 8s, no leadoffs, but you can steal once the ball crosses the plate. And if there is a drop third strike on that one, the ball is past the batter, you can still steal. So it's just you can't take primary and secondary leads. Batting out of order, if it's not caught, the new lineup just comes into play. If you're aware that somebody's batting out of order, you have two choices. You can bring it up right then and there, or you can let that batter finish, see what happens, and then before the next pitch, bring it up. And at that point, the proper rule book rule will come into play. Otherwise, if you don't do it and the next pitch comes and it was batting out of order, you've just accepted that new lineup as well as the other team, even though they may not like it. They just had somebody switch positions. So,
Hey, Dan.
yes.
Again, it's Homer. And correct me if I'm wrong, but so if you have a batting out of order, or you have other issues that you want to address, it has to be done before, as you stated, the first pitch, or in 11U and 12U before an attempted play, like a pickoff.
Yeah, correct.
Right. So if the pitcher will toe the rubber and try a pickoff, and then whoa, timeout, Blue. I want to come out. I'm going to question that we've already had an attempted play. So
Correct.
Pitch or play, right? For the 11U and 12U.
But 10s, 9s, and 8s, that doesn't come into play. So it's the next pitch as as the cement rule, not the Jello rule. But in the 11s and 12s, absolutely, it's before play or pick. Any other questions?
Dan, I have a question. I'm pretty sure I heard you very, very loud and clearly. You said baseball pants required?
When you get to regionals, 100%. In the state, I'm not going to stop you from coaching, but you will hear from me.
Can I ask you how loud you will be?
Everybody will hear you, hear me in the stands. So
Understood, Dan. We'll be.
yeah. So like I said, I mean, I've had it where, sometimes I think it's a little game with coaches because, I mean, one guy he had at one time, he was in a 6X pants. And he goes, oh, I couldn't get it. It's like, what do you mean you couldn't get it? We had a pair there for him the next day. So it's one of those things that you don't want to put any effort into it, but yet you're coaching the kids and you want your kids to wear it. You're a team, so we expect the coaches to have it. But like I say, from the state, I'll be a little lax. But should a team win, you definitely have to have pants on. Also, when you get to regionals, I don't know why. Sometimes maybe it's because some tournament directors are in it so they can have this sense of power. But if there's been many a time where a kid wears number 8, and then the coach or manager is his dad, so they want to wear number 8. I don't care. But when you get to a regional, they go, you better change the number. Just have some colored tape for whatever your number is and make it 18 or 28 or 8 with a line, just so it looks different. I don't know what the big deal is. I can go to a minor league game and everybody's wearing number 62. I have no idea who's up unless I recognize their face. But there's nothing in the rule book, and I've argued this, but I've lost to the higher powers. There's nothing in the rule book that says that every uniform has to have a different number on it. But at regionals, they push for it. So if you and your kids have the same number, just have some tape and, like I said, make it 18 if nobody has 18, and or whatever the number is, just make it different than everybody else. Babe Ruth patches go on the left arm sleeve. If you don't have them for the state tournament, don't worry about it. However, if you move on to regionals, I want to make sure that they're on there because they won't let you play if you don't have them.
Dan, this
Yes.
is Jonathan from Scottsdale.
Yes.
Where do we find bracket in the game list for 8s, 9s, and 10s?
I sent that off to Jason earlier, and I think he's at a practice tonight. He's going to get it over to you. The 8s and 9s I sent over to him. He has the 10s. I haven't received it from him yet. So I'm waiting to get the 10s from Jason. The 11s and 12s are on the Casa Grande website, and I forward that over to Jason
Okay.
as well.
Hey,
Pass on to coaches.
Hey, Dan, Jason takes forever. Can you just reply all in the email and send the schedule out
Absolutely.
for the 9s? You
Yeah.
can tell him I said that.
Yeah, no, I have no problem doing that. And then, so I will send that out. And like I said, you'll see Friday, it'll say 4660, and then 4665 for Saturday and 4665 for Sunday. It's 4660 for the whole thing. It's just a typo in there. So,
And I also heard that you are, we're doing Yuma Catholic for the Friday games, and then we're going to the
Saturday
Yuma.
and Sunday.
All of them?
Yes, all of them. It'll be at Yuma Catholic. And Yuma Catholic is not far from the other field. We've been playing at Yuma Catholic since the 90s, and then until the new field opened up. So if you're at one of the hotels right off of the 8 down there, realistically, it takes you like 10, 12 minutes to get over to Yuma Catholic. You just follow the signs like you're going to go to Somerton and San Luis, and it's the road just past the Walmart on the left-hand side. That road, and it runs right into Yuma Catholic. So on the schedule, it'll have Yuma Catholic's address on it.
Hey Dan, this is Jeff from Scottsdale as well.
Yeah.
We have posted the schedule. It's on the public website. While Jason's practicing, I could shoot you the link if you then want to share it.
Yeah, that would be great. If you want to throw it in the chat, you can do that. And
I already put it in the chat for you
okay,
guys.
great. Yeah, so that's in there, and then let me move the. Let me grab over to my email and get off the work email. 1 second here. And
Go ahead, Omar. Did you have a question?
all right, we got that.
No, I was just going to say hi, Betsy.
Hi, Omer.
Hi. But Jen, I would like to get with Val. Val, you're on here, I think. I'd like to get all our umpires in Casa Grande together an hour before, Friday. We'll meet at 6 and talk about the 11U, 12U, and then whether or not we need to meet Saturday morning. But I'll take a look at the schedule and see who we got scheduled to be able to do that and talk about things we talked about tonight with them.
Yep, sounds good.
Let me save this as a file here.
But I will say, while there's any coaches still on here that have any questions about any umpiring or any things that you have had issues with, how you come out and dress an umpire, and obviously in the youth level, it's probably pretty frustrating. I don't know. I mean, in most cases, I deal with high school, college, type different, situations. A lot of youth league coaches, dads that, not saying you don't know the game, but to be involved in the rule book, and not only be involved in the rule book, but the interpretation of the rule book.
Yeah, I
Right?
do
The
have a
gray
question.
areas.
I think the infield fly ball is, or you have umpires that call it, it's not a routine infield fly.
Right. So,
And
kind of break it up a little bit, but an infield fly is a baseball that can be caught by ordinary effort by an infielder or even an outfielder. So let's say the ball drifts, shortstop, second base, it drifts out into the grass. And here comes the right fielder calling off the second baseman. But if he can come in and get under it and make it a above the waist catch, it becomes an ordinary catch. So an ordinary catch is typically above the waist. A trouble ball in the outfield is below the waist, right? That's a trouble ball. So an umpire needs to go out on that, or we need to have eyes on that because that's a trouble ball. As far as the rule of an infield fly, it's an ordinary effort. So if you have a second baseman, going out into the grass, or a shortstop going out into the grass to get the ball, does he get there and make it ordinary, or is it not ordinary? Right? He's got to go to the ground below his waist to catch the ball. I'm not saying he didn't make a great play, but I don't have an infield fly. Now we have, he's rolling or whatever. We have guys tagging and running. So the interpretation of that, again, is kind of a judgment call. It can't be a line drive. It can't be a bunt. It's got to have a little bit of elevation to where I had that in the high school game with Williamsfield and Desert Vista. The ball, it had an arc, and the kid had an ordinary effort. And guess what he did? He let it hit the ground. He let it fall.
Right.
So I'm calling infield fly. And then next thing you know, we got the runner at second base off the base, and I get it out at second base. So Randy, the Williamsfield coach, is wanting to argue with me. He's agreeing with the infield fly. So it boiled down to his kid didn't
Right.
protect himself.
Can you hear me?
Once he left the base.
Can you hear me better, or am I still cutting out?
Right now I can hear you good.
of the kid that's playing the base, because obviously that can be a judge. Thinks is a routine play, or based off how the player at that base.
It kind of still breaking. I don't know how. So an obstruction call, right, for a coach, right? So when I point obstruction at first base, and I have a ball going to the fence, if we don't have a, I'm assuming the state tournament will have a 200-foot fence or a 210-foot fence. But in a lot of your regular season type situations, at least in Casa Grande, we have a fence that's 300 feet out there, and some of these kids hit the ball almost to that 300-foot fence. So it's all you can get. So the interpretation of what I'm going to call, right? I've got obstruction, and am I going to give him all the way to home, or am I going to give him third? Am I going to give him second? It depends on where. It's my judgment as to where the ball is, where the runner is, and I don't know how many young umpires understand this, but this is what you need to be aware of as the play develops, right? So, okay, I've got him passing second. They're still chasing the ball. Obviously, he's going to make third. Now, suddenly they pick the ball up somewhere between second and third. They've thrown it in. I've got the cutoff guy turning and throwing the ball before he reaches third. Now, am I going to protect him all the way home? No, I'll protect him to third, but I'm not going to protect him home. So if he chooses, or the coach chooses to send him, we now have a play at the plate that's going to be my judgment as to what I'm going to call, right? I'm going to protect him all the way to third base. So let's say we have a play at third base and he gets called out, or he's out. He's clearly out. The obstruction at first base, in my judgment, with those kids chasing the ball or doing what they're doing, I'm going to call time at third base, say time. I have obstruction on the fielder at first. The runner at third is safe. So the frustrating part that I've told coaches about that is you don't know what I'm thinking as the play's developing, right? But it's a judgment call on how I'm going to rule on this play. That's obstruction. The same thing kind of on an infield fly. I don't know how to tell you what I'm going to call, but the protocol, the mechanics of an umpire is that when you have an infield fly, when you've decided that I'm going to call the infield fly, I'm going to put my hand in the air. I am going to point to the sky. I now have an infield fly. And if you as a coach can see that, start, telling your kids, stay, 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 stay. So I don't know how to really. Good Chris umpire will help you because, okay, I recognize what I have. I've got the infield fly, or I don't have the infield fly. So, it's an aptitude for the game. It's a luck and a luck and draw kind of thing. But sometimes it just is what it is, like Dan said. And to come out and get yourself kicked out, or to get hard feelings going, or so a lot of times it's how you approach an umpire as much as what you're trying to maybe trying to get overturned, or you. I've had guys come out and talk to me, and I felt bad about a call I made, but you know what? It made me work harder for that coach because it came out in a good fashion. It came out with respect. It came out understanding that it was a tough situation, and from that point on, that was the second inning. From that point on, I was focused to, this cat he treated me well. He was respect, and he understood the game, and he understands my job. I understand his job. And you'll work for that. You'll work for those coaches, right? You'll work for the coaches that know how to come out and ask the questions and get the answers and go back to the dugout, and might come out 2 or 3 times, but you come out, there's no hostility, right? There's no, I don't feel bad about you. You don't feel, maybe you feel bad about me, but at least you came out in a fashion that I don't feel bad about you. So I've had situations where coaches have come out and, you know what? I got nothing for you the rest of the day, coach. I just got nothing for you, man.
Yep.
So I don't know if that helps or not in terms of judgment calls of what is an infield fly or not, right? Or what is interference or not, what is obstruction, and where you need to, how far you tell your runner to keep coming, because you don't know what's in my mind. And maybe that's the fun of the game, right? That's the interesting part of the game that we haven't got the video yet. But
Can you hear me right now?
yeah.
Okay. So sorry, I know I was cutting out. See, in that rule is that umpires call it based on out playing a position. It's more routine than someone that the same rule, because it wasn't routine for them. So I was just curious.
Yep. The other rule,
And it is.
the other rule that I want everybody to be made aware of is, if a runner does, if a defender does not have the baseball, collisions are must be avoided on all bases. Doesn't matter. The rule used to say, just at home. It's now all bases. So if you don't have the ball, don't be blocking. You have to have the ball in your glove. It's one of those bang bang plays. You could be straddling the bag and not blocking the bag and waiting for the ball. Just don't be in front of the bag or the base. And then you don't have the ball and you're blocking it. Because the call will go against you on that one. So, but collisions must be avoided on all bases, and you can't block a base unless you have the ball.
Right. So Dan,
and slide. Don't be coming in with elbows and shoulders flying high. Slide.
absolutely great point, Dan. So you're going to have plays where the catcher or the first baseman, in most cases, it's those two positions, that they're in the right, they're where they need to be, but the throw coming in on the play will take them into the runner's path. So there may be collisions. Now, as he just said, you cannot duck your head and take the point of like you're spiking in football. You cannot throw an elbow. You cannot bring your knees up. You cannot put any kind of indication, drop a shoulder to where you're trying to barrel over the catcher. But if you come in and he gets in your path and there's a collision, I've seen more collisions at first base where the first baseman's reaching across his entire rib cage, hips, legs, everything, going across the foul line towards the dugout to catch the ball to make a play, and the runner blows him up coming into the base. As violent as that may be, I still have incidental contact. The play took him there. The runner had he had nothing else he could do. If the runner can give himself up, he has to give himself up. He has to avoid contact. That is the runner's responsibility. But there are situations from an umpire processing judgment standpoint where the throw took that collision, and I will not call that malicious. I will not call it out. I will not eject on that. If it's malicious, I eject. If it's questionable, I just call them out. Right? So how you tell your kids, because sometimes throws and plays, even though your guy's not obstructing, and all of a sudden he is, because the throw took him there and the runner didn't have time to avoid. but don't make it malicious, if that makes sense.
Any other questions? All right. With that, I'll again make myself available for any questions you may have. Omar's done the same, and I wish everybody a great tournament. I'll try to make as many of them as I can. There's going to be some that are going to be overlapping, but I will try to get to each of them. And again, if you have questions during the game, I mean, you can ask a question, but don't hold up the game to get me on the phone. You can either get with the tournament director at Scottsdale, with the tournament director at Casa Grande, and or if I happen to be there, we'll answer it. And if you have any questions prior to the game or anything else, then definitely feel free to give a call. If I don't answer right away, I may be on the phone with somebody else. Definitely leave a message or send a text, and I will get back to you the minute that I'm available on the phone. And I know tournaments are going to be going on, so I'll try to get back with everybody as quickly as possible. Again, I wish everybody the best of luck, and represent Arizona well for those that move on to the regionals, and we look forward to it. So we'll go from there. There's a lot of things that you can do. I'll tell you one thing that we did back in 2005. We were playing up in Kingsburg as 12-year-olds, and Kingsburg goes, you can't have your own bat boys or bat girls. We're gonna provide them for you. And we ended up making it to the World Series, and we took the bat boys family with us, and that's why we lost the last game, because they had to leave on just before that last game. I'll never forgive them for that. No, but we just made them part of our baseball family, and we joke about it because we were doing very well. He was like our good luck charm, but we brought the mom, dad, and the bat boy along with us. So there's a lot of things that you can do just in the community or in the playing the game with people around you that affects in a positive way. So if your team can afford it, and you want to do that, you're more than welcome to, but you don't have to. But I'm just giving some of the things that you can make available that changes some people's lives as that comes about, being part of the game when they're not really a player, but they're still part of that camaraderie of the team. So good luck to everybody, and everybody be safe and have lots of fun, and play some great baseball. May the best team win and move on. So we'll see everybody later, and you guys take care.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you. All right, bye-bye.
Hey guys, I'm going to see if I can get Dan back on for the 16 to 18U team.
Hold on, man. What was that, Jenny?
I'm going to try and get Dan back on. There's the 16 to 18U team had their hand up, and I didn't get a chance to. I was on mute, so he didn't hear me. I didn't want him to hang up yet.
Okay, I'll stick with you.
Okay, give me a second.
I saw your email today on the registration.
Oh yeah. Uh-huh.
Like, all right, I hear you. Sign up. We you say the 12U or 11U was in Hawaii?
That would be 12U.
12U, $30,000 to $35,000. That's insane. Who's got that kind of money? That's a lot of car washes.
Yeah, lots of fundraising for these teams.
Right. I mean, unless Kroger's wants to throw in like 10 grand. I mean, that's just crazy. I don't understand it. That's what I'm trying to say. I just don't understand that unless you got corporate America doing things or Cal Ripken and the Cal Ripken Foundation or whatever they got going on over there. Or Babe Ruth. I don't know what Babe Ruth has, but I know Cal Ripken. He played forever. He's the Iron Man, right? And he made lots of millions. His dad managed forever. Probably didn't make a whole lot of millions, but he managed forever. And they had a brother that played that probably made a few million. I just don't know how these teams are supposed to get to Hawaii. You still there?
Okay, sounds good.
Okay.
All righty, bye-bye. Okay, yeah, we're done. The 18U team we'll just call Dan directly for questions. So thanks everyone for joining tonight. I did record the meeting. If anyone needs a recording of the meeting, I can send out the recording so everyone has the information.
So you're talking about 16, 18, 16U, 18U?
Yeah, we have a 16, 18U team that's going to regionals in California.
Who are they?
It's the Coolidge team. They're
All right.
Yeah, they're called the 18U Arizona Regulators.
Right. Okay. I know who you're talking about. I didn't know. I didn't realize that the 16U was even into this equation, I guess. Right. So good for them. I hear you.
Yeah, they do well there. So, okay, guys. Well, I got to go pick up a teenager, so I'm gonna have to get going. I'm gonna head out. But Omer, if you want to call me tomorrow and chit chat, I'm available.
Sounds good, Jan.
Okay. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.
You too. Thanks.
Bye.